on this computer. Okay, welcome everybody. So this is our Wellness Wednesday, and this week we are going to be talking about water wisdom. And our special guest, thank you so much for joining us, is Melba Gallard. Is that how you say your last name?
Well, Gilliard is the English pronunciation. For those who speak French, Gaillard.
Gaillard. Okay, very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Melba is a doula, health and wellness coach. She's a licensed massage therapist and a senior care advocate. And I met her during Startup Week in DC. And her and her daughter were learning all about the DC startup scene. And so we're excited to hear her presentation. I figured it would be a good match for staying hydrated, especially this time of year when it's super dry, and all of her background experience. So I'll take it away, Melba.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Katie. It was a pleasure meeting you during DC Startup Week. And I am just, ecstatic about being able to present to your followers today on, mastering the art of hydration. It is very key this time of year and, all times truly, but it's nice to be able to share some information with folks because it is always top of mind, whether or not we get enough and how best to get it. So awesome. I am excited.
Yeah, so I just updated the sharing settings so you can share your screen if you had a little presentation, or if you're just going to chat, that's fine too.
All right, I did put together a little presentation. So let me do 2 clicks and hopefully everything looks good. And sweet time. It's been a tech day for me, I guess, huh?
Some days are like that for sure. Oh, I love your backdrop. That's a cool photo.
Thanks. Running is one of the things that I do enjoy, but I definitely love being by the water.
I would definitely agree with both of those.
Right? Right, let's see if I can get this to go full screen for me. If not, we'll just click through as it is. It's just being temperamental. Because you do too many things. Alrighty. Oh, there we go.
Awesome.
All right. Yay. All right. So yes, water wisdom, mastering the art of hydration. So one of the things that I like to kind of start with when I do any type of presentation is to just kind of ask people just a question as to what the topic is and what their thoughts are. So I know that we are not doing a live exchange, which is okay, but I still want people to kind of think about this. Like, what comes to mind when you hear hydration? What does hydration mean to you? What does it feel like? Is it taboo? Because I think some people kind of have some of these thoughts when it comes to it. And then also, when asked the question, are you drinking enough? What's your response? And as a massage therapist, as a health coach, when I ask my clients, especially, are you drinking enough water? Hands down, the answer is always yes. And I'm like, okay, so let's follow that up. What does that look like for you? How much are you actually drinking? And then I'm like, oh, well, I get it in my coffee and I get it in my tea. And, sometimes I get it when I drink my soda. And I'm like, okay, all right, that's great. But how much water are you actually drinking? And they're like, oh, well, I might have a glass at lunch or dinner or something like that. And I'm like, all right, well, that's wonderful. Thank you for that. So then as especially when I'm doing massage, I can instantly tell when people are dehydrated because the muscles aren't moving as fluidly as they could. So, in the session, I'll say, so do you feel how rigid this motion is? And then I'm like, yeah, I do kind of feel that. It's like, yeah, I need you to drink more water. And we'll talk about how you can do that at the end of the session. Um, and then they're like, okay, all right, well, I thought I was getting enough. We all do. So, it's just like one of those little fun things that I like to kind of get people's brains going on water. So, and speaking about how, because the $1 million question is, how do we increase our intake? Most people just think it's just consuming water. And most people think it has no flavor. It's tasteless. So I'm not intrigued or inclined to actually get more water in. So here's some of the hows. One, the foods that we eat and how those foods are prepared. There are apps out here that can help provide reminders when to drink, how much to drink, and of course, just water itself. So I'm going to break this down into a couple of different slides to kind of show you different ways to get that water in. So food, this information came directly from NIH, and I love the way that they broke it down. So of course, when drinking water, it's 100% intake. But it also breaks down how much water your body is taking on by eating certain other foods. As you can see here, fat-free milk, 90 to 99% water because they've removed a lot of the fat and everything from the milk. So it increases the water intake, and that's why that milk is a lot thinner. It's not as dense as full milk or whole milk. Cantaloupes, very water dense. Most of our fruits, strawberries, watermelons, lettuces, cabbage, celery, most of your leafy greens, pickles, squash, especially when cooked because it transforms the fiber soluble content of the actual flesh. And as you can see here, fruit juices, apples and grapes, oranges, things here, again, with the broccoli. Once it's cooked or steamed, it just changes the consistency and allows the body to be able to absorb all of the water that's there. And then, as you can see, I'm not going to read everything, but it just shows you the different contents in the foods that we're having and how they're prepared. So pizza. When I've shown this to other clients in the past, they're like, pizza? And I'm like, yeah, what's one of the primary toppings that's on pizza? And it's tomatoes, tomato sauce. So because of the water content in that fruit, it increases the water that you're actually taking in. Now, of course, it depends on the pizza because not all pizzas may have the actual tomato sauce. Sometimes we'll do pesto. But even with that, you're still going to get additional water into your body. Cheeses. And then as you can see here, you have 20 to 29% when you're getting sausages and things like that, as well as in cakes. And that's because of the different ingredients. And your nuts, you're not going to have as much, but you'll get some water. Oils and sugars, absolutely zero. So that just shows that the nutritional contents aren't there as well as the water. Okay. So as they say, eat the rainbow just kind of ties into so many different things. So yes, you're getting all of the fiber and you're getting all of the nutrients, but you're also increasing the water content for your body, which is most important because we're made up of a lot of water. And I'll talk more about that in another slide. So as mentioned, apps. There's so many different apps out there for water. This is just a few. This young lady actually took the time to go through each of these apps and rate them. And these were her picks. So feel free to check them out on your own and play around with them. There's windows with each of them as to when it can be free and when you would have to actually possibly pay either for yearly or monthly subscriptions. And, you can keep it simple. You can just set up an alarm on your phone every hour, drink a few ounces or drink a bottle of water within 15 minutes or so. You don't necessarily have to, just down it immediately, but, you can take your time. So again, plenty of apps out there that can assist you with getting that water and making sure that you are receiving that optimal hydration in the body. And the topic of the day, water. Drink more water. So many say it, and again, it's challenging for a lot of us at times. No one is, how shall I say, everyone has a challenge at some point in time getting all the water that they need on a daily, because our lives are very busy. We're in meetings, we're, on the go. And a lot of times when we're doing that, we're thinking, oh, well, if I drink this bottle of water, I need to also make time so that I can go to the bathroom. Because, what goes in, definitely there's going to be some things that come out. So we're going to want to make sure that we leave space and time for that in our day. So, but these are a few different types of waters that have the most benefit. So a lot of people have issues with tap water. They think that it has a funny taste or because it has no taste. So but it's still water and we still want you to get it in. So one of the things that you can definitely do with those types of waters is to infuse it. We're going to have a slight discussion about fused versus flavored because there is a huge difference between those two. But, then there's bottled water. And you have traditional bottled water, and then you have alkaline water that's also bottled. They do have alkaline systems that you can purchase, but you don't have to go there. You can just purchase the alkaline water. And the difference between tap water and alkaline water is the acidity versus alkalinity in the water. Typical tap water and your average bottled water is going to have a pH level at or below 7. Alkaline water is going to be at or above 7. So acidity is going to be in the lower, alkalinity is going to be in the higher numbers. And alkalinity go up to 11. So you want to, it's better to have an alkaline state in the body for health reasons, because we always want to reduce acids in the system, because acids at certain times can be disruptors in our systems. But typical water is usually around 7, even with your bottled waters and your taps. It might dip a little below it, but you shouldn't find it where it's like 5 or 4. It should definitely always be very close to that 7. So we hear about, like, if you're an athlete and you're working out and your go-to beverage may be one of the electrolyte infused waters or beverages. I'm not going to name any products, but as a health coach, I usually try to get my clients not to utilize those because one of the things that a lot of people don't pay attention to is the sugars. That's one. Number two, electrolytes do have a shelf life. And for their maximum effects, you want them within a shorter period of time versus a longer sustained time in the bottle. So if you are really trying to replenish your electrolytes, it's better to actually maybe have the electrolyte pouches that you can just dump into your water right before you drink it. You shake it up and then you drink it. And then you're getting the maximum benefit at that point in time, because then it's activated right before you consume it. Coconut water. Coconut water is naturally packed with tons and tons of all of the electrolytes that one could use. Super hydrating, very nice mild taste, very refreshing. So, there's nothing that I can say bad about coconut water. I love it. I definitely request that each person, if you haven't tried it, try it. Give it a try and see how it makes you feel. See how your body responds to it ultimately. Now, infused water versus flavored water. So, like this right here is infused water. So I have some slices of lemon, some basil, and a couple of blackberries in there. So what that does is, with the water and everything, it releases those same electrolytes that are naturally found in those fruits and herbs into the water. So it increases your hydration. It brings that alkalinity into the water, because this was just tap water. So that's one of the benefits of utilizing the tap water. You can change its state, taking it from a more acidic into a more alkaline state for your body. Two, it also provides flavor, and it's natural. Those are just the ones that I chose. There are so many different other blends that you can use. It's whatever you like, whatever you have a taste for, or whatever you may have in your refrigerator or around your home to utilize to enhance the flavor. So with the other flavored options that are out there, long-term effects, we really don't know, because they're added dyes. And some of the things that we know about the dyes is, especially with children, they can sometimes provide negative effects on their bodies as they're developing and things like that. So we want to minimize that as much as possible. Children love fruit. So, just throw some of that in there in their water bottles and just let them go, is my motto. And when they are sometimes apprehensive, having them to do it themselves makes them a little bit more inclined to actually do it or to consume it, because they participated in creating that for themselves. So that's my spill on, just the different ways of making the water better for the body, more tasteful. So therefore it's easier for our palates. But yes, coconut water. Coconut water you can also utilize in your food when you're preparing things. Like if you're making rice, instead of using tap water, you could use coconut water. Same thing with the alkaline water too. As you're making your teas and your coffees and things in the morning, you can use that water instead of just tap water. And then that will help to increase the alkalinity of that drink for you. Okay. So, how much is enough? That's an age-old thing that we all learned at some point in time in elementary school. The rule of 8. 8 glasses of 8 ounces per day. Sounds good, but science has changed over the years, thankfully, because they've had many different studies that have been conducted, and that rule doesn't really work for everyone. So what we say in the industry now is half of your body weight in ounces per day should be your standard. So that way it's tailored to you and what your body needs are on a daily. That's just the baseline. And it's pretty simple. So let's just say I'm 100 pounds. Oh, I wish. But, so that would be 50 ounces of water per day. That's pretty easy to actually get that in. And it's across the day. Now, if I'm exercising or if it's a warmer day, definitely increase that. If you are doing some type of yard work, any activity where you may be perspiring or just hot in general, you can definitely increase your water intake because you're losing water through that perspiration. So we have to replenish that. So that's the rule of thumb today. Half your body weight in ounces per day as your daily baseline. And how hydration impacts the body, just in case you were curious. So on average, 66% of your body is water for men, and about 56 to 58% of your body is the makeup for women. So we carry a little bit more fat than men on average, so that's the difference for those numbers. Bones are about the same across the board. For adults, 22% of our water from are in our bones, and our skin, 35% of it. Muscles, 76%. So like I was saying at the beginning, when I'm working on someone in massage and that muscle is just like not flowing as it should, because that rigidity has set in the muscle because it should be plump, and it's very densely compressed because it's needing more water. And as you can see, our blood volumes, 83% water. That's significant. And the lungs, 90%. Yeah, the lungs really don't care for dry air. They like moist air, definitely. And the brain likes a lot of water too. So this is just like the makeup in the body. So this is why hydration is such a useful, necessary element that we have to put into our bodies every single day. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So, and just thinking in terms of other ways that the body needs moisture or needs the hydration, the integumentary systems is our skin. So it's our body's first protective layer for anything coming in and anything going out. It just protects us. So, we want to make sure that our skin is well hydrated. So we have to drink that water. Our skeletal system, as we just saw with our bones, 22% water. Our muscles, our nervous system. So because it runs and flows through our joints and those muscles, they too need that hydration so that they can send all of those signals properly throughout the body, letting you know that things are going well. When you don't feel them, and when things aren't going well, it's just like, okay, signal, signal, signal. Things aren't working, but we want those signals to flow. So therefore, we need to consistently hydrate our system so that the nervous system works properly. Our endocrine. So we want to make sure that everything is just working well with all of the endocrine hormones and things like that are going through the body. Our heart, we just saw that, we need to make sure that blood is flowing at its optimal rate. So I think it was 83%. So we definitely need to make sure that we're getting all the water into our system through our foods, through just water intake to keep that heart working well. Our lymph, which is located just beneath our skin and initial fat layers. We need to make sure, because the lymphatic system doesn't have the pump that the heart does, so that it flows. So water is what helps it to flow out of the body. So to get rid of all of that nasty stuff that we take in, the lymph is similar to our lungs as far as when we are receiving airborne pathogens and things like that into our system. Our lymph is responsible for cleaning a lot of that out. So that water helps to get rid of all of those things. The respiratory system, as mentioned before, our digestive system definitely needs it. You get a tummy ache, you definitely want to have water in your system. Just in our daily eliminations, being able to pass our stool. When we're constipated, our body is not getting enough water. So, part of a lot of companies who have the solutions to help with the laxatives and things like that, one of the key ingredients to their products is water. Because what do you have to do? Take a spoonful, put it in a glass of water, stir it up, and then drink it. So it's giving you that fiber that you need, but it's also putting that water into your system, because in order for things to flow, you have to have that water. So the urinary system. So one of the things that I definitely go over with my clients, and I'm very involved when it comes to what's going on with their body, whether you're lying on my table as a massage client or if I'm your health coach. So I'm going to ask you, what's the status of your urine? Like, what color is it? And what does it smell like? Some people think that's a little weird, but it tells a story. And it's always wonderful when I find out that, oh, well, it's like the color of a pale lemonade. Oh, that's great. That means that you're getting in a lot of water on a daily basis. When those colors darken, then that means, one, there's either something going on in your system, or you're not getting enough water so that it's pulling more nutrients from your body and processing those nutrients and minerals out that need to be replenished. So we have to get our water levels back up. And our reproductive systems. So yeah, it doesn't seem like it should, but again, everything works well when the water levels are at their optimal level. So gotta get our water in. So how long can the body survive without proper hydration? Not very long. So ultimately, a person can live longer without food than one can live without water. So just a few days, 3 at the most 8 days, and it just kind of depends on the elements and things that are going on in and around you during that time. So not very long. We need water. And if you think about the status of the ground here, it's cracked, it's crumbled in pieces. Sometimes our skin looks the same, and that's a telltale that we're not getting enough water. So boosting hydration when we are like I'm doing now. I'm doing this presentation, so I'm exerting energy, I'm taking in a lot of air orally, so I need to hydrate so that I don't become dehydrated. And know that also when you feel thirsty, that's your body already signaling to you, hello, 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 hello. My reservoir is dry. So you're already dehydrated when you feel thirsty. Just a little tidbit. And a reminder, drink your water. So as I had mentioned earlier, there are different ways that you can go about making the water more palatable for yourself. So here's a little recipe for one that's strawberry and basil infused. And you can make a picture of it. You can have it over the 2 days that it says it'll be good for. But, you know, as a health coach, the health coach in me, I can't deny my urge to say, I really want you to make one every night so that you can actually consume that each day. Or you can make a larger pitcher that can actually go for those 2 days because half your body weight in ounces. And, you know, I really do prefer most people get most of it through water. Having it from your foods is just that additional hydration plus additional nutrients because you need that fiber in your system. And now is where I would typically open it up for questions.
All right. Well, that was very informative. I'm sitting here just like literally soaking it all up. And I learned a lot as well. You know, I have a lot of questions actually. A couple of reflections, you know, I'm an Ironman athlete and I think about like when you talked about the brain, like when you're going through even in a marathon, like your brain stops working, like you can't do math, like you're like, I have 10 miles, but no, maybe I can't think. And when you finish, it's because your brain doesn't have, you know, the water and the carbs to operate. And I had my first like severe dehydration episode this year. I think it was it was end of August. I was supposed to bike 90 miles. I made it to 80 and it was really unsafe. At 70, I started feeling lightheaded, nauseous, tingly, and I had lots of water, but it was interesting. I would love to hear like the electrolytes. It was missing Gatorade and all that and salt. And I guess that's a whole other presentation too, topic. And so we have a SAG driver. So it was the first time I had to call the SAG. I pulled over the side of the road and I was hunched over my bike and she's like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I just need Gatorade and then I need to finish this 90. And she's like, get in the car. I was like, no, I need to finish the 90. And she's like, get in the car. You're severely dehydrated. I was like, okay. Anyway, so what are your thoughts on like the electrolytes and salt and all that with the water?
Well, I'm glad that you listened to your driver and got in because sometimes it can take the body up to 2 hours to truly replenish, even with consuming the Gatorade for you to actually push through. And you had like 10 more miles. Yeah. So I'm glad you got in the car. But yes, so one of the things so let's take it into context of doing an Ironman. Having your electrolytes available, be it in the powder form to put into your water, or at least a couple of pinches of Himalayan sea salt infused into your water that you're drinking consistently will help to keep some of your sodium levels a little more stable as you're going through. So you're not pushing out quite as much salt and depleting it completely while you're actually going through. The other thing is possibly having that coconut water because the electrolytes are naturally in that versus the Gatorade. And you could have that, say, maybe like every 5 to 8 miles when you're having that water break at that point in time so that you're getting that boost. because it'll have those sugars and those other minerals that you'll need too. So yes, electrolytes for those types of events where you are truly stressing all of the systems by pushing them, pushing them, pushing them, which isn't a bad thing, because you are definitely using your body, but we want to make sure that we love on it too as it's performing at its peak.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, we take salt pills, like literally, and I've seen people just almost get like rigid, like you talked about, and they start shaking and then they collapse. And literally, like at that point, it's like 15, 16 hours straight. It's because they haven't had any salt, like to balance out the water. And you can become, what is it, hypertrophic? I've seen that as well, like in Ironman athletes at the end. My friend, he had too much water and not enough Gatorade and salt and all the other things. And so you can die from that. It's just interesting, the different ends of the spectrum. I wanted to know your take on, so I drink these LaCroix like constantly. This one says it's naturally essence. I know you talked about the difference between infused water and flavored water. What's your take on like the whole trend of the sparkling waters?
So sparkling and carbonated water is good. It's just getting that additional air into it. But now look for, I think my daughter does actually drink those too. The difference between those waters, I believe, and some of the others that are out there, because Smart Water years and years and years ago did something very similar. And it was infused water. But you don't get, because it has that essence that you're tasting, but because I'm just going to be frank. Americans are very specific about the things that they put into their bodies at times, right? So if they see something floating, then they're thinking, ew. But it also becomes an issue because of the timing. So they extract all of the fruits and the particles of those fruits from their infusion when they're doing their bottle so that it doesn't go bad. But that speaks to shelf life. So my thing is get it into their hands faster if possible so that they can actually get the additional nutrients from those pieces of fruit that are floating, or just infuse it yourself.
Okay. So there's nothing wrong with the sparkling water versus regular, it's just got air bubbles in it.
Now, some people, if you're having any type of gastric or gastrointestinal issues, sometimes that additional air from the carbonation can be a disruptor, but just in general, no.
Gotcha. The other thing I wanted to ask, some tips and tricks and strategies, airplanes. Like when I travel, first of all, like, you try to go to the bathroom or not as much because you're traveling and you're like not thinking about drinking water. And then you get on the plane, and the longer you're on the plane, you can feel it in your skin and, all the things. And you get off the plane and I just always feel like it takes me a whole day to get back hydration wise after an airplane just kills me everything. So like other than, trying to drink, and then I'm somebody who has like digestive challenges on an airplane. So like drinking water, I just sometimes not necessarily want to do that either. So what do you suggest for travel?
So with that, I would definitely say maybe having your individual bags of different fruits to take with you. Yeah, that would be my first suggestion, is to have different fruits that you can snack on throughout the flight. And you can also have, so like when you go to the restroom or whatever, if your skin is like extremely tight because of the recirculation of the air and things like that, they have these cooling wipes that you can actually get from like some of the medical supply stores.
Yeah.
And you can put those on, and they're usually infused with like or use like coconut water. to just rehydrate the skin, and they're very cooling. So that's an option. And you can make those yourself. You can too, with just you can get some of the washcloths and put them in a reusable silicone bag, and you can keep those in a cool place on the plane in your personal carry-on, and you can use those too for that.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, I know they make a lot of great sprays now for your face and to help with the travel. But it's funny because you don't even think about like how the airplane really affects your hydration.
Mhm.
Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like as a whole, like you said, we as a country are not getting enough water. Like just I think some of my friends do really great at it. They have these big jugs and you have to meet certain markers throughout the day. But I think for the most part, we can all do better by drinking more water. And essentially I am as well. And yeah, I just I don't realize how much it affects so many other things that, that may be just because you're dehydrated.
A
Um,
lot of things. Eyes, your vision. I had a conversation just the other day with my daughter about that, and I was like, yeah, it was like very eye-opening for me, no pun intended. But yeah, I was getting ready to go for an eye exam, and my eyes were just like it felt sandy and gritty. And so I was just like, I went to go and put like my refresh drops in, and I was just like, huh, how much water have you had? Because I looked at my eyes and I'm like, they look a little dull. They don't look as shiny or as moist. So I'm like, okay. I mean, and in that moment, I realized I'm probably very dehydrated, and I was. So I did have a conversation with the eye doctor about that, and I'm like, if I'm not getting enough water in, would this be a reflection of it, that grittiness? Because I hadn't been anywhere, I hadn't been exposed to like any burst of air that could have deposited different things into my eyes for me to have that gritty feel. And he was just like, no, definitely. That's something that you can definitely experience when your eyes are dried out.
right. Yeah, I mean, swimming every time after I get out of the pool, I always have to do the drops in my eyes because, oh my gosh, swimming, right? That's a great example. I keep a water bottle, but you sweat and you don't realize it when you're swimming. And then I'm mostly all the time dehydrated. I always feel like I need a Gatorade after because I just didn't drink enough water like you would outside when you're actually sweating or inside, like cycling, things like that. But so important. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Melba. I really appreciate this presentation and the work you put into it, and super informative. So we will download or upload this to our YouTube channel. And then, so how can people find you?
So just a little snippet about me, um, and what I am, what I do. And right, I'm in the process of redoing my website. So that's why that's not there. So right now, the easiest way to reach me is through email, which is there at the bottom.
Okay, perfect. I love that
Yeah.
G. Your G to amazing.
Yes. I'm like, yeah, I'm too young to be a grandma. And everyone's like, but are you? And I'm like, well, I mean, technically, no. But I don't look like a grandma. I don't act like a grandma.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm just G. That's it. And it's like, not Gigi. Like, nope, just G.
just G. I love it. Cool grandma. G grandma.
G.
Awesome. And I love your hair too. Someday I aspire to that. I just keep going shorter and shorter, but honestly, it's hard to get a hairstylist or hairdresser to go that short. Even this, I'm like, shave it. Number one, up the back. And they're like, are you sure? Are you sure? I'm not sure. I'm like, give me the clippers.
Yeah, exactly that part. Give me the clippers. I'll do it. And then you just have to fix it.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone's always about like the long hair, and I'm just like shorter, either easier, efficient, much less everything. Uh,
It's a liberating style. It really is. Because my hair used to be long before I had my daughter. And then when I had her, I was just like, she has a lot of hair. Doing 2 heads of hair every day was challenging. I'm like, one of us has to not have so much hair. Guess who?
Guess what? It comes back.
It
Change your minds.
does. It definitely does. Faster than I want sometimes. But yes.
Not true.